Juan's life was never easy, but it wasn't much different from many others in his neighborhood. He grew up in a humble home where his mother's love was the constant force that kept him going. His mother, Carmen, was a strong and hardworking woman who always made sure that her son had what he needed. Although they didn't have luxuries, the warmth of their home and Carmen's unwavering care were enough for Juan to have a relatively happy childhood. However, as the years passed, everything started to change in a dramatic way. As Juan grew older, he began to drift away from school and surround himself with bad company. In his teenage years, he was introduced to drugs. At first, it seemed harmless, a way to fit in with others, to feel like part of a group that seemed to understand him. But soon, what began as harmless curiosity turned into a devastating addiction. The first time he tried marijuana was just the beginning, but it wasn't enough. Over time, cocaine and amphetamines became a part of his daily life. At first, he tried to hide it from his mother. He didn't want Carmen to know the truth because he knew how much it would hurt her. But the lies began to pile up, and the problems worsened. Juan started skipping work, stealing small items from the house to sell them for money to fuel his addiction. Carmen noticed the changes, of course, but she didn't want to face the truth. Every time she tried to talk to him, Juan brushed her off, telling her everything was fine. Over time, the situation got worse. Juan's friends were no longer true friends, they were simply fellow drug users. He became someone completely different, a stranger to his own mother. Carmen, despite the pain, still believed that her son would get through this. She couldn't stop fighting for him. But one day, everything came to a head. It was an ordinary afternoon. Carmen had gone out for some shopping, and Juan was alone at home. His need to get more drugs had become unbearable. He knew that if he didn't get money soon, the situation would become even worse. It was then that he made the biggest mistake of his life. In a moment of desperation, Juan entered his mother's room. Carmen always kept her money in a safe, the money she had saved up over the years. Juan knew where the key was. He didn't think twice. With trembling hands, he opened the safe and took everything he could find. Thousands of pesos that his mother had saved for the future, for emergencies. Juan didn't think about the consequences. He was only thinking about the drugs. When Carmen returned home, the first thing she noticed was the open safe. Her heart stopped for a moment. She looked at her son, who was avoiding her gaze, his face full of guilt. That was the moment Carmen knew the truth. She knew that her son had stolen the money, but what hurt her the most was the fact that he had done it to feed his addiction. The love she had for him collided with the harsh reality of what he had done. Juan, seeing the sadness and despair in his mother's eyes, dropped to his knees. Tears began to fall down his face. He couldn't believe what he had done. He knew he had crossed a line that could never be erased. Carmen, despite the pain, approached him. She didn't yell, didn't accuse him. She simply asked him why. Juan, between sobs, explained what had happened. He told her how the addiction had taken over his life, how he had lost control, and how money and drugs had become the only things that mattered to him. He apologized, but he knew that words couldn't fix the damage he had caused. Carmen, with a broken heart, told her son that she loved him, but she couldn't allow his addiction to destroy him. She told him he needed help, that she couldn't keep ignoring the seriousness of the situation. Juan, ashamed and regretful, agreed. It was the first step toward redemption, but also the beginning of a long and painful journey. Carmen decided it was time to intervene. She couldn't let her son be lost in the abyss of drugs. She took Juan to a rehabilitation center, where he spent months battling his addiction. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when he thought he couldn't go on. But his mother's love and the support of the therapists helped him stay strong. Over time, Juan managed to overcome his addiction. It wasn't a quick or easy process, but he left the rehab center stronger and with a new perspective on life. He learned to value what really mattered: his family, his health, and his future. The relationship between Juan and Carmen, though deeply marked by tragedy, began to heal. Juan understood how much his mother had sacrificed for him, and how her unconditional love had kept him afloat even in his darkest moments. Carmen, while always carrying a piece of pain in her heart, was proud of the person her son had become. Juan's journey of redemption is a testament to the power of love, inner struggle, and the importance of never giving up. No matter how dark the path may seem,